I kissed my bully in a hospital parking lot. Then I drove him home. That sounded insane. Who does that for the guy who used to make his life miserable? But with Otis, things were different. Or maybe more accurately, what Otis showed me that day was different. He did not ask me to forget the past. He did not ask me to forgive him all at once. He simply stood in front of me when the past tried to hurt me again. And maybe the most important part was this. I wanted to kiss the past goodbye, not because everything was over, but because I was finally ready to open a new page for the future. So I drove Otis home. That sounded simple. It was not. The entire ride felt like someone had turned the volume down on the world, but turned up every single thought inside my head. Otis sat in the passenger seat with his cast resting carefully against his chest. The pharmacy bag sat between us, quiet and harmless, unlike my heart, which had decided to behave like it had never experienced basic human contact before. I kept my eyes on the road. Mostly. Every time I glanced at him, Otis was looking out the window with the smallest smile on his face. Not proud, not smug, just happy. That made everything worse. Because I had kissed him, I had leaned in first. I had chosen it. No storm, no fear, no one forcing us together in a cabin. Just me, in a hospital parking lot, deciding I wanted something I had wanted for years. When I pulled up in front of his house, the porch light was on. The street was quiet, and the night air felt cooler than it should have. I turned off the engine, but did not move right away. Otis looked at me, then down at his cast. I guess this is where my heroic image ends. I almost laughed. You never had one. His mouth curved softly. Ouch. I glanced at his arm. That word is reserved for the person with the fracture. His eyes stayed on me, warm and careful. Then I will use it responsibly. Silence settled again, but it was not uncomfortable this time. That was new. Otis reached for the door handle with his good hand, then paused. His fingers stayed there for a second. Thank you for driving me home. I looked at the dashboard because his face was too much. You are injured. I was not going to let you drive. His smile softened. I know. Of course he did. He always knew how to make simple things feel unfairly tender now. I got out first and opened his door before he could argue. Otis stepped out slowly, still trying to act like he was perfectly fine, even though he moved like his entire body was negotiating with pain. I handed him the pharmacy bag. Take your medicine. His good hand accepted it. Yes, Timothy. And do not carry anything heavy. Yes, Timothy. And do not pretend your arm is fine. His eyes lifted. A faint smile touched his face. I will try. I narrowed my eyes. Try harder. That time he laughed. Soft. Tired. Real. For a second, I wanted to kiss him again. That thought hit me so suddenly I almost took a step back. Otis seemed to notice my silence, but he did not push. He only stood there under the porch light, looking at me like one chance was still more than he deserved. I hated how much that look worked on me, so I cleared my throat. I should go. Otis nodded, slow and careful. Text me when you get home. I blinked. I was the one who should have said that. Instead, he stood there with a broken arm, still worrying about me. My chest warmed in a way I did not know how to hide. I will. His smile appeared again. Good night, Timothy. I turned before my face could betray me. Good night, Otis. I called a taxi from the curb. During the ride home, I leaned my head against the window and watched the streetlights slide across the glass. My lips still remembered his. That was a very stupid sentence. Unfortunately, it was also true. By the time I got home, the house was quiet. Mom had left the light on in the hallway. Taylor's room was dark, which meant he had either fallen asleep or finally run out of questions. I went upstairs, changed clothes, and lay on my bed. Then I stared at the ceiling. For a long time, I had spent years thinking about Otis Warren as someone I feared, someone I hated, someone I needed to forget. I had never imagined a future where I would lie awake because I had kissed him and wanted to remember every second of it. My phone lit up beside me. Otis, home safe? I stared at the message until my face started warming again. Then I typed back, "Yeah, are you still in pain?" His reply came almost instantly. "Not anymore." I froze. Then my entire body understood what he meant before my brain could protect me. He was not talking only about his arm. I turned my face into my pillow and groaned quietly like a very mature 21-year-old college student. After a full minute of losing a battle against my own smile, I typed back, "Good night, Otis." This time, his reply took a little longer. "Good night, Timothy." I put the phone down beside me. The room was dark. The house was quiet. But for the first time in a long time, the silence did not feel lonely. It felt like something was waiting for tomorrow. Morning arrived with absolutely no mercy. I had slept late, dreamed too much, and woke up to Taylor standing beside my bed with the energy of a small reporter chasing a breaking story. His face was way too close to mine. Is Otis still hurt? I opened one eye. "Good morning to you too." Taylor ignored that completely. Did he go to the hospital again? Is his arm still broken? Can he still play video games? Does he like pancakes? I pulled the blanket higher over my face. That last question does not belong with the others. Taylor climbed onto the edge of my bed like he had paid rent there. "I am just asking important things." From the doorway, my mother's voice arrived with suspicious timing. "Those all sound very important." I slowly lowered the blanket. Mom stood there with 2 mugs in her hands and a smile that looked way too innocent to be real. That was dangerous. Taylor turned toward her immediately. "Mom, Otis saved Timothy. He should come over again." My soul left my body for a second. He did not save me like a superhero. Taylor looked personally offended. "He stood in front of you." Mom's eyes shifted to me. Her expression softened. For one small moment, I remembered yesterday. Otis's pale face. The cast. His hand opened between us in the car. Then Mom's smile turned a little too knowing. "So?" I sat up slowly. "No." She raised her eyebrows. "I have not said anything. You said it with your face." Taylor looked between us, clearly enjoying the drama. Mom walked in and handed me 1 mug. "So what kind of friend is Otis?" The coffee almost attacked me from the inside. I coughed once, then tried to look normal, which was useless because Taylor immediately grinned like he had discovered treasure. I stared at the mug. "He is complicated." Mom sat on the chair beside my desk. "Most important people are." That was too wise for 9 in the morning. I looked away. "He is not my boyfriend." Taylor gasped. "I did not ask that." "You were going to." His small grin said I was right. Mom sipped her coffee like she was watching a show she had been waiting years to see. After a moment, she set the mug down. "I made banana bread this morning. You can take some to Otis." I looked at her. "Why?" Her expression stayed perfectly calm. "Because he is injured. And because he helped you." Taylor sat up straighter. "I want to go too." I was about to say yes, mostly because Taylor was excellent at preventing awkward silence, but Mom lifted one hand. "Maybe not today." Taylor blinked. "Why?" Mom glanced at him. Then she winked. It was fast. Not fast enough. Taylor suddenly nodded like he had received a secret mission. "Oh, right. Otis is injured. He cannot play with me today." I stared at both of them. That was the worst acting I had ever seen. Mom stood and smoothed the front of her shirt. "You can take my car." I narrowed my eyes. "You are being very helpful." She smiled. "I am your mother. That is my job." No. Her job was not usually giving me car keys, fresh banana bread, and a suspiciously empty schedule to visit a boy I had kissed less than 12 hours ago. I wanted to complain, but another memory rose before I could. Me, 17 years old, sitting on the floor of my bedroom with my back against the bed, crying so hard my chest hurt. Mom sitting beside me, not touching me until I leaned into her first. My voice breaking when I finally told her I liked boys. Her hand moving gently over my hair. Not shocked, not disgusted, just sad that I had been afraid to say it. Then I told her about school. Not everything. Not Otis. Only enough for her face to go still. Her voice had been soft, but there was steel under it. Do you need me to fix it? I had wanted to say yes. I had wanted someone to storm into that school and make everyone stop. But I also knew how high school worked. Adults could talk. Teachers could warn. Then the hallways would get quieter, sharper, worse. So I shook my head. I just need you to not hate me. Mom had pulled me into her arms so fast I almost lost my breath. Never. That had been the first time in months I felt safe. Back in my room, 21 years old and holding a mug of coffee, I looked at her. She did not know the whole story. She did not know Otis had been part of what hurt me. She only saw her son finally looking like someone had made his heart wake up. And maybe she wanted to give that son a chance, even if the chance came wrapped in complications. Mom picked up her keys from the desk and placed them beside my mug. Drive carefully. Call me if you need anything. Taylor leaned toward me with fake seriousness. And tell Otis I hope his arm survives. I threw a pillow at him. He dodged badly and laughed anyway. For a second, the room felt warm. Too warm. Like life was trying to convince me that visiting Otis was normal. Like this was just a boy bringing banana bread to another boy. Not a boy walking toward his past with shaking hands and a heart that had started hoping before he had given it permission. I drove Mom's car to Otis's house with banana bread in the passenger seat and at least 12 terrible scenarios playing in my head. Scenario 1. Otis opened the door, smiled too softly, and I immediately forgot every normal sentence in the English language. Scenario 2. His mother answered the door and somehow knew I had kissed her son in a hospital parking lot. Scenario 3. Otis looked at me like last night meant everything, and I had to figure out what my face was supposed to do with that information. All three scenarios were bad. Very bad. By the time I reached his street, my hands had tightened around the steering wheel like I was preparing for a final exam instead of a sick visit. His house was in a quiet neighborhood with trimmed lawns, a basketball hoop near the driveway, and a porch that looked too normal for the amount of panic happening inside my chest. I parked in front. Then I sat there. The banana bread sat beside me, judging me silently. I looked at the front door. I could go in. I could also drive around the block once. Maybe twice. Maybe move to another state. Before I could make a mature decision, the front door opened. A woman stepped out with a work bag over one shoulder and keys in her hand. She looked like Otis around the eyes, but softer, less guarded. She noticed my car and paused. I got out before I could look even more suspicious. "Hi, I'm Timothy." Her face changed instantly. Not confused. Relieved. "Oh, Timothy, you came to see Otis?" The way she said my name made me wonder how much Otis had already told her. That thought was dangerous, so I lifted the container in my hand. My mom made banana bread. I wanted to bring some over. Her shoulders dropped like I had just solved a problem she had been carrying all morning. "That is so sweet of you. I was just about to leave for work, and I hate leaving him alone like this." I almost smiled. He is 21. She gave me a look every mother in the world probably practiced in secret. And still my child. Fair. I could not argue with that. She glanced back toward the house, then lowered her voice slightly. "He keeps saying he is fine. He is not fine. Please do not believe him." That sounded familiar. "I will not." Her expression softened. "Thank you. I feel much better knowing someone is here with him. Someone. Not a nurse. Not a neighbor. Me." For some reason, that made my stomach feel warm and nervous at the same time. She touched my arm lightly on her way past. Make yourself comfortable, and if he tries to carry anything, stop him. I can do that. She smiled. I believe you can. Then she left, and I stood in front of Otis's house with banana bread in my hands, suddenly promoted to temporary supervisor of a very stubborn injured person. I took a breath and walked inside. The house was quiet. Warm sunlight came through the living room windows. A folded blanket sat on the couch. A half-empty glass of water rested on the coffee table, next to a bottle of medication and a phone charger. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Otis appeared at the top, moving carefully, one hand on the railing. His cast was bright white against his black t-shirt. When he saw me, his whole face changed. It was unfair. No one should look that happy just because I walked into a room. Timothy. He stepped down too fast. His injured arm bumped lightly against his side. His face immediately tightened. I pressed my lips together. Do not laugh. Do not laugh at an injured man. Otis froze halfway down the stairs, trying very hard to look dignified. I am fine. I lifted one eyebrow. Your arm disagrees. He looked down at the cast like it had betrayed him personally. It overreacted. That did it. A small laugh escaped before I could stop it. Otis looked up at me, and instead of being embarrassed, he smiled like my laugh had just fixed something in him. That made me look away first. I held up the container. My mom made banana bread. Otis reached the bottom of the stairs more carefully this time. For me? No. For the cast. You were just nearby. His smile widened. Please tell your mom the cast is very grateful. I handed him the container, then immediately regretted it when he tried to hold it with one hand. I took it back. No carrying things. His eyes softened. My mom talked to you. She gave me instructions. That sounds like her. I looked around the kitchen doorway, then back at him. Have you eaten? Otis hesitated half a second too long. I narrowed my eyes. Otis. His good hand lifted slightly. I was going to. When his mouth opened, nothing came out. I sighed and walked toward the kitchen with the banana bread. Come on. Otis followed me, slower now, and somehow the sound of his footsteps behind me made the house feel smaller. In the kitchen, I set the container on the counter and found plates after Otis pointed to the right cabinet. He tried to help once. I turned and looked at him. He immediately lowered his good hand. Right. No carrying things. Good memory. His smile came back, quiet and pleased. I cut 2 slices of banana bread and placed them on plates. The whole thing should have felt normal. It did not. Because Otis was standing too close. Because last night had happened. Because my mother had sent me here like she knew something I was not ready to say out loud. And because when I turned around, Otis was looking at me like the morning had become better just because I was in it. My heart did something stupid. Again, I pushed one plate toward him. Eat before your mom blames me. Otis sat down carefully at the kitchen table. I would never let her blame you. I sat across from him, trying not to smile. You are injured. You cannot protect me from your mother. His eyes stayed warm on mine. I can still try. The words were simple. Too simple. But they landed somewhere soft inside me. I picked up my fork and looked down at my plate before my face gave me away. This was supposed to be a sick visit. Somehow, it already felt like something more dangerous. Otis picked up his fork with his left hand. That should not have been dramatic. It was only a fork. A very normal object. But watching Otis Warren lose a silent battle against banana bread with his non-dominant hand was doing something terrible to my self-control. He tried to cut a piece. The fork slipped. He tried again. The slice moved across the plate like it had chosen freedom. Otis froze, then looked at the bread with personal betrayal. I pressed my lips together. Do not laugh. He glanced at me. You are enjoying this. I looked down at my own plate immediately. I am being respectful. His eyes narrowed slightly. You are laughing inside. Inside is a private place. Otis tried again. This time, he managed to break off a piece, but when he lifted it, half of it fell back onto the plate. The disappointment on his face was too much. A laugh escaped before I could stop it. Otis looked up, but instead of looking offended, his face softened. That made the laugh catch in my throat. I looked away. Sorry. His good hand rested beside the plate. Do not be. I like hearing you laugh. That was unfair. He could not just say things like that while sitting there with messy banana bread and a cast. I cleared my throat and reached for his plate. Are you okay, Otis? I can help. Otis went completely still. For 1 second, he looked like he did not trust his own ears. That made me panic. If you do not want to, it is fine. I just thought. Otis sat straighter so quickly his cast almost bumped the edge of the table. No. I blinked. His face flushed a little, and he corrected himself fast. I mean, yes. I am not okay. I absolutely need help. I stared at him. Then I laughed again. This time, I could not hide it. Otis smiled like he had just won something much more important than breakfast. I cut a small piece of banana bread with my fork and lifted it toward him. The moment felt ridiculous. It also felt dangerous. Otis leaned forward carefully, eyes still on mine. I fed him the bite. Very normal. Very practical. A basic act of kindness for an injured person. That was all. At least, that was what I told myself. He chewed slowly, and the look on his face became far too pleased. I pointed the fork at him. Do not make that expression. His eyebrows lifted with fake innocence. What expression? The one that makes this weird. His smile grew. It is already a little weird. I should have stopped helping him. I did not. I cut another piece. This is gratitude. Otis looked at me quietly. For the hospital? For the park? For standing in front of me? For getting hurt because of me? His smile faded a little. Timothy. I lifted the fork before he could apologize again. Eat. He obeyed. That should not have made my chest feel warm. But it did. For a few minutes, the kitchen settled into something almost peaceful. Sunlight rested across the table. The house was quiet except for the small sounds of plates, forks, and Otis being much too happy about being fed breakfast. Then he swallowed and looked at me with a soft, terrible smile. I wish this could last forever. I glanced at his cast. You mean being injured? His eyes warmed. I mean you taking care of me. My face heated instantly. I looked down and cut another piece of banana bread like it had personally offended me. I still have not completely forgiven you. Otis's expression stayed gentle. I know. I am only doing this because I am grateful to the person who saved me. His smile returned, careful and amused. Of course. I did not like how easily he accepted every warning. It made me want to give fewer of them. That was the problem. I lifted the fork again. Are you eating or not? Otis immediately leaned forward like the most obedient person alive. That made me laugh under my breath. And for the first time, I stopped correcting myself for it. Maybe this was not forgiveness. Maybe it was not love. Not yet. But sitting in Otis's kitchen, feeding him banana bread while he looked at me like I had brought sunlight into his house, I had to admit one uncomfortable truth. Whatever this was, I did not want it to end too quickly. After breakfast, I insisted on cleaning the plates. Otis tried to stand up. I looked at him. He sat back down immediately. That should not have made me feel powerful. It did. I carried the plates to the sink and rinsed them while Otis stayed at the kitchen table like an injured prince who had been temporarily removed from duty. His eyes followed me the whole time. I could feel it. It made washing 2 plates much harder than it needed to be. When I finished, I turned around and dried my hands on a towel. What? Otis blinked like he had not been caught staring. Nothing. You were staring. His good hand rested on the table, fingers tapping once. I am appreciating. That sounds worse. His smile appeared slowly. I can stop. I looked at him. He did not look away. For some reason, that made my heart move before I did. I turned toward the counter and pretended the towel needed to be folded with extreme focus. Otis cleared his throat softly. There is a park nearby. I glanced back. His expression was too casual. Dangerously casual. And there is a new ice cream shop near it. My mom said it is good. I narrowed my eyes. You are injured. My legs are fine. You are supposed to rest. I rested while you fed me banana bread. I pointed the towel at him. That is not how medical recovery works. His mouth curved like he knew exactly what he was doing. We can walk slowly. I crossed my arms. Otis, are you trying to turn a sick visit into a date? He looked at me with the most innocent face a person like him could manage. I think ice cream in summer sounds great. I waited. His eyes softened, and his voice lowered a little. But it would be better with you. That was unfair. Completely unfair. I stared at him for a second too long. I did not know you were this smooth. His smile grew, not smug, just pleased that he had made me react. Only with you, Timothy. I looked away, but I could feel heat climbing up my neck. Otis leaned back carefully, keeping his injured arm close. Come with me. The reasonable answer was no. He was injured. I had only come to check on him. This was supposed to be banana bread, basic kindness, and maybe 30 minutes of awkward conversation. Not a walk. Not ice cream. Not whatever his voice had just done to my stomach. But he was looking at me like the invitation mattered. Not because he expected me to say yes. Because he hoped I would. That was different. I sighed. One slow walk. His face brightened immediately. An ice cream. I tried to look strict. One ice cream. He nodded like I had granted him a royal pardon. Understood. Before we left, I made him take his medicine with water. Otis obeyed so quickly that I became suspicious. You are being too cooperative. He stood near the kitchen island, holding his cast carefully against his chest. I am trying to impress my caretaker. I am not your caretaker. His eyes warmed. Noted. The way he said it made it sound like he did not believe me at all. I helped him put his light jacket over his shoulders without making him move his injured arm too much. It should have been practical. It should have been nothing. But my fingers brushed the back of his neck for half a second. Otis went still. So did I? The kitchen became too quiet. I pulled my hand back first and focused on the zipper of his jacket like it had personally become the most important object in the world. There. Done. Otis's voice came out softer than before. Thank you. I reached for Mom's car keys, then stopped. We are walking. He nodded toward the window. The park is close. Fine. But if your arm starts hurting, we come back. His good hand lifted in surrender. Yes, Timothy. I opened the front door and stepped outside first, mostly because I needed fresh air and not because being alone with Otis in his kitchen had become dangerous. The summer air was warm. The street was quiet. Somewhere nearby, a lawn mower hummed in the distance. Otis came out behind me and locked the door with some effort. I reached toward his house keys automatically. He paused, then handed them over without arguing. That small thing surprised me. Old Otis would have made a joke and tried to prove he could do it himself. This Otis simply let me help. We started walking toward the park. Slowly, the way he promised. At first, we left a polite space between us. Then the space began to feel too noticeable. Not close enough to be comfortable. Not far enough to be safe. Otis glanced at me from the corner of his eye. I pretended not to notice. My hand brushed his by accident. Barely. Still, my entire body reacted like something important had happened. Otis did not grab my hand. He did not tease me. He only kept walking beside me, patient enough to make me nervous. And somehow, that patience felt more dangerous than if he had tried. The park was busier than I expected. Of course it was. It was a weekend in late June, the kind of day when families came out with strollers, kids ran through the grass with juice boxes, and couples walked slowly like the whole world had agreed to become background scenery for them. I hated how aware I suddenly became of my hands. Specifically, the hand closest to Otis. It hung at my side like it had been given a job interview it was not ready for. Otis walked beside me, careful with his cast, matching my pace without making it obvious. He did not look around nervously. He did not check if people were watching. He just walked like being seen with me was the most natural thing in the world. That made me feel both safer and more terrified. A group of teenagers passed us near the basketball court, laughing loudly at something on a phone. My shoulders tightened before I could stop them. The sound was harmless. Probably. But my body did not care about probably. For a second, the park blurred into a high school hallway. Laughter behind me. Shoes squeaking on tile. Someone whispering a name I hated. My steps slowed. Otis noticed immediately. He did not grab me. He did not ask loudly if I was okay. He only stopped beside me and turned slightly, blocking the path just enough to make a small quiet space around us. His eyes searched my face. Too crowded. I looked away from the teenagers. It is fine. That was the annoying thing about him now. He did not argue when I lied. He simply waited until I heard myself. A few seconds passed. I exhaled slowly. Maybe a little. His expression softened. Then his good hand moved, slow enough that I could see the question before he asked it. "Timothy, can I hold your hand?" I turned to him. The question should not have surprised me as much as it did. We had already kissed once. I had fed him banana bread in his kitchen like some kind of extremely confused boyfriend. But holding hands in public felt different. A kiss in a parked car belonged to a small private world. This belonged to sunlight, strangers, sidewalks, and memories that had teeth. Otis seemed to understand that. His hand stayed open between us, not touching me. "I know you were scared someone might see us. Or recognize you." My throat tightened. He looked down for a second, then back at me. "But I want you to know something. You are not alone anymore. Not here. Not with me." The words settled into me slowly. Not like a cure. Not like a perfect fix. More like a hand reaching toward a door that had been locked for years. Otis's voice stayed quiet. "If you do not want to, I will understand." That almost made it worse. Because he was giving me room to say no. And for the first time, I realized I did not want to. I looked at his hand. The same hand that had been offered in the hospital parking lot. The same hand that had asked for nothing. My anger did not disappear. My memories did not vanish. But something in me loosened. Just a little. I placed my hand in his. Otis's fingers closed around mine carefully. Not too tight. Never too tight. The warmth of his palm moved through me, steady and real. For a moment, I waited for panic. For shame. For the old feeling that I was doing something wrong just by wanting what I wanted. It did not come. Instead, I felt the summer air on my face, Otis beside me, and the ground solid under my feet. Safe. That was the word I had been avoiding. I felt safe. Otis looked at our joined hands, then tried very hard not to smile too much. He failed. I glanced at him. "Do not look so happy." His eyes lifted to mine, bright and soft. "I am trying to be normal. You are terrible at it." His smile grew. "I know." We started walking again. This time, the space between us was gone. A few people passed by. No one stopped. No one pointed. No one laughed. The world did not end. That should have been obvious. It still felt like a miracle. Otis gently adjusted his fingers around mine, careful not to pull. "Still okay?" I looked ahead at the path, at the trees, at the families spread across the grass. Then I looked at him. "Yeah." The word came out quieter than I meant it to. But it was honest. Otis did not make a big deal out of it. He only nodded, like my comfort mattered more than his happiness. That made my chest ache in a way I did not hate. We walked through the park slowly, hand in hand, with his cast between us like proof that the past had not vanished, but had changed shape. By the time we reached the far gate near the little row of shops, I realized I had stopped checking every face. I was still nervous, still careful, and Otis was still beside me. Not behind me, not ahead of me, beside me. The ice cream shop sat on the corner, bright and new, with a blue awning and a line of people by the door. Otis gave my hand a small squeeze. They have blueberry cheesecake flavor. I stared at him. Of course you know that. His smile turned almost shy. I checked. My heart made another stupid decision without consulting me. I looked toward the shop and breathed out. One ice cream. Otis's thumb brushed lightly over my hand. One ice cream. Then we stepped toward the door together. For once, I did not let go. The ice cream shop smelled like waffle cones, sugar, and summer. It was bright inside, with blue walls, round tables, and a chalkboard menu behind the counter. A few families stood in line. 2 college students sat by the window, sharing a basket of fries from somewhere else like rules did not apply to them. Otis kept holding my hand. Not tightly, just enough to remind me he was still there. I told myself I could let go before we reached the counter. Then I did not. That felt dangerous in a way I could not explain. We stepped into line together, and Otis leaned slightly closer to read the menu. They still have blueberry cheesecake. I looked up at the board. You sound relieved. His thumb moved once over the back of my hand. I wanted you to try it. I glanced at him. Did you research ice cream for me? Otis looked away, but the corner of his mouth betrayed him. Maybe. That is embarrassing. His eyes returned to mine, warm and completely unashamed. I have done worse for you. My face warmed immediately. I looked back at the menu like mint chocolate chip had become urgent. Before I could answer, someone near the counter called Otis's name. Otis. His hand shifted slightly in mine. Not pulling away, just surprised. A girl behind the counter leaned forward, eyes bright with recognition. Her brown hair was tied back, and she wore a blue apron with the shop logo on it. For 1 second, she only looked at Otis. Then her gaze moved to me. Her eyebrows lifted. Timothy. My stomach dropped. It happened so fast. The ice cream shop disappeared. The bright walls. The families. The smell of sugar. All of it thinned out, and for half a second, I was 17 again, standing in a hallway while someone said my name like it was a setup for a joke. My fingers went cold around Otis's. He noticed. Of course he did. His hand stayed steady around mine. The girl's face changed from surprise to a smile. Oh my gosh, you look so different. I almost did not recognize you. I froze. Then she looked a little embarrassed, like she realized how that sounded. I mean that in a good way. You look really handsome now. The panic in my chest slowed by one breath. Kate. I remembered her. She had been in our year at Westbrook High. Not exactly a friend. Not an enemy either. She had liked Otis back then, which everyone knew because she had a habit of appearing wherever he was during breaks. But she had never laughed at me. She never defended me either. At 17, that had hurt a little. At 21, I understood more. Not every person in a hallway knew how to be brave. Sometimes, not joining the cruelty was all someone knew how to do. And back then, even that had mattered. I forced my shoulders to loosen. Hi, Kate. Her smile widened, relieved that I remembered her. It has been forever. Otis stood beside me, quiet but present. His hand did not leave mine. Kate looked between us. Then her eyes landed on his cast. Oh no. Otis, what happened to your arm? Otis lifted it slightly with an awkward little smile. Minor fracture. Doctor said it should heal without any lasting damage. Kate winced. That sounds awful. It looks worse than it is. I almost laughed. That was such a lie. Kate shook her head, then leaned her elbows lightly on the counter. I am sorry. I got so excited seeing you two that I did not even notice at first. She turned toward me again. My family owns this place. I help out here during summer break. It is not glamorous, but the ice cream is good enough to forgive the uniform. That sounded like the Kate I remembered. Bright, talkative, a little dramatic, but harmless. The line moved forward, but she waved the next customer to the other register, clearly not done with us. So what brings you two here? My hand almost slipped from Otis's. Not because I wanted to let go, because the question felt simple and impossible at the same time. Otis did not answer for me. Not yet. He just waited. I looked at our hands, then at Kate. We were walking in the park. Kate's smile turned teasing. Together? Heat climbed up my neck. Otis's fingers held mine a little more securely. Still gentle. Still asking for nothing. But there. I took a breath. Yeah. Together. Kate's eyes widened in the best possible way. Not mocking. Not cruel. Just delighted. Well, that is definitely new. My chest tightened for 1 second. Otis turned his head slightly toward me, checking. I met his eyes. For once, I did not want to run. Kate clapped her hands once, then pointed at the menu. Okay, then I am officially making the first scoop a celebration scoop. What are you getting? Otis looked at me. I looked at the board, then back at him. Blueberry cheesecake. His smile became soft enough to ruin me. I hoped you would say that. Kate made a dramatic sound from behind the counter. Oh, this is interesting. I covered my face with my free hand. Please just get the ice cream. Otis laughed quietly beside me. And for the first time, hearing someone from high school laugh near me did not make me want to disappear. Kate handed us 2 cups of blueberry cheesecake ice cream with the confidence of someone presenting evidence in court. Otis reluctantly let go of my hand and accepted his carefully with his good hand. I reached for mine, but Kate held it back for 1 second. Her eyes moved to our joined hands again. This time, she did not tease right away. She only smiled like she was trying very hard to be normal about it. Then her eyebrows lifted slightly, asking the question she was polite enough not to say out loud. My face warmed. Otis looked at me first, not Kate. That small pause mattered. He was letting me decide how much to say. I looked down at the ice cream, then forced myself not to hide behind it. Maybe. Kate leaned forward, delighted. That is the cutest unclear answer I have ever heard. I groaned. Otis's shoulders moved with a quiet laugh beside me. Kate set my cup on the counter. Fine. I will not interrogate you. Yet. That last word made me nervous. We moved to a small table near the window. Otis sat beside me instead of across from me, careful with his cast. Our hands had separated because of the ice cream, but his knee almost touched mine under the table. It was stupid that I noticed. It was worse that I liked noticing. Kate came around the counter a minute later during a quiet break, wiping her hands on a towel. I still cannot believe you two walked in together. Otis glanced at me, then back at his ice cream. You are making it sound like a town event. Kate pointed her towel at him. In this town? It might be. I almost choked on my first bite. Kate laughed, then leaned against the empty chair beside our table. Speaking of town events, did you hear about Zach? The spoon stopped halfway to my mouth. Otis went still beside me. Just like that, the room felt colder. Kate did not notice at first. Apparently, he got arrested after attacking someone at the amusement park. Everyone is saying it was about time. That guy has been trouble for years. My fingers tightened around the spoon. Otis's good hand rested on the table, close, but not touching me. Kate shook her head. I mean, I hate saying this, but good. Maybe now people can stop pretending he is just rough around the edges. Her eyes finally dropped to Otis's cast. Her expression shifted. Wait. She looked at his arm. then at me, then back at him. Otis, is that how you got hurt? My stomach dropped. It felt too much like someone opening a door I had not agreed to unlock. Otis turned slightly toward me. Again, he did not answer first. He waited. I appreciated that more than I wanted to admit. I placed my spoon down. Yeah. Kate's face changed instantly. Oh my God. I tried to make my voice light. Apparently, this town updates faster than social media. Kate pulled the empty chair out and sat down, all the teasing gone from her face. I heard Zach went after an old classmate, and someone stepped in before it got worse. Her gaze moved to Otis's cast again. That was you too? Otis's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. Zach started harassing Timothy. Then he escalated. Kate's eyes sharpened. Of course he did. For once, the phrase did not annoy me. It sounded tired, like she had known for years what kind of person Zach was. Kate looked at me. I am sorry, Timothy. The apology surprised me. I looked up. She held my gaze, not dramatic, just honest. Not just for yesterday, for back then too. My throat tightened. Kate folded the towel in her hands. I know I was not one of the people who laughed, but I also know I did not say much either. The ice cream in front of me started to melt around the edges. I remembered Kate in high school. Her bright hair clips. Her crush on Otis. The way she used to appear near his locker and talk too fast. The way she looked uncomfortable when people whispered about me, but still walked away. At 17, I had hated everyone who walked away. At 21, I understood cowardice came in many shapes. Some were cruel. Some were just scared. I breathed out slowly. You were not the one hurting me. Kate's eyes softened. No, but I saw enough to know it was wrong. Otis looked down at the table. His good hand curled once. Kate glanced at him, then back at me. And I am glad someone finally stood in front of you. The words landed quietly. Otis did not look proud. He looked almost ashamed that it had taken him so long. I looked at his cast. Then at the ice cream he had checked ahead of time because he remembered what I liked. My chest felt heavy, but not in a painful way. Kate leaned back and tried to smile again. Well, for what it is worth, Zach getting arrested is the least surprising thing this town has ever produced. A small laugh escaped me. Otis looked at me, relieved by the sound. Kate smiled too. The air loosened. Not completely, but enough to breathe again. Kate stood from the chair and picked up our empty cups. The moment had been heavy for a few seconds too long, and she seemed to notice. Her usual brightness returned, not loud enough to erase the conversation, just enough to help us breathe. Okay, I am officially changing the subject before this ice cream shop becomes a therapy office. I let out a small laugh. Too late. Kate pointed at me with the spoon in her hand. Then I am charging by the hour next time. Otis looked down at his melted ice cream. I already paid with a fractured arm. Kate winced, then gave him a look. That joke is terrible. Otis's mouth curved. I am injured. My standards are lower. I should not have laughed. I did anyway. Kate smiled at both of us, and for the first time, sitting across from someone who knew us from high school did not feel like standing in front of a witness. It felt like maybe the past could sit at the table without owning the whole room. Kate leaned against the counter again. So what are you two doing now? School? Work? Secret romantic walks through town. My face warmed instantly. Otis looked at me, clearly trying not to enjoy my suffering too much. I am still in college, waiting on internship results. Kate nodded like that was the most familiar pain in the world. Oh, the internship waiting period. That special time when your email becomes your worst enemy. I pointed at her. Exactly. She turned toward Otis. And you? Otis glanced at his cast, then back up. Currently, failing at basic daily tasks. Kate laughed. Long term. I am taking summer classes online and helping my uncle with his repair shop when I am not medically useless. I looked at him. You never told me that. Otis's expression softened. You never asked. That was fair. A little too fair. Kate's eyes moved between us with open curiosity, but this time it did not feel invasive. It felt like she was watching two people trying to learn how to stand near each other without stepping on old wounds. She folded her towel neatly over her arm. You know, I always thought Otis was impossible to read in high school. Otis looked mildly offended. I was not that mysterious. Kate stared at him. You wore black hoodies in 90-degree weather and spoke like 3 words per class. I glanced at him. That explains a lot. Otis gave me a betrayed look. You were supposed to be on my side. I lifted my spoon. I am still evaluating which side that is. Kate laughed so loudly a family near the window looked over. She immediately lowered her voice and leaned closer. For the record, I think this side looks good on you. I looked down at the table. I did not know how to answer that. Otis did. His good hand moved under the table, slow and careful. His fingers found mine, not pulling, not hiding, just resting there. I let him. Kate noticed. Her smile softened, losing its teasing edge. I am happy for you, Timothy. Something in my chest tightened. Not painfully, just suddenly, because she sounded like she meant it. I met her eyes. Thanks. Otis looked at me then, and the warmth in his face made me want to stare at the floor for the rest of my life. Kate clapped her hands once, saving me again. All right, enough emotional growth. Do you want another scoop? Otis looked at me. I shook my head. We should probably go before your arm decides to make another dramatic statement. Otis glanced at his cast. It has been very quiet today. That is suspicious. Kate walked back behind the counter and waved away my attempt to pay. Nope, this one is on the house. I immediately frowned. Kate, no. She held up both hands. Consider it a celebration, and maybe an apology from one former hallway bystander. The words were light, but not empty. I looked at her for a moment. Then I nodded. Thank you. Kate smiled. Just promise me I will hear better news next time. Otis turned toward me, his eyes bright with a kind of hope that made my heart stupid again. I looked away first. No promises. Kate grinned. That sounds like a yes in progress. Otis opened the door with his good hand, letting me step out first. The summer air wrapped around us again. For a second, I stood on the sidewalk outside Kate's shop and looked through the window. She was already helping another customer, smiling like our past had not just walked in, sat down, and left a little less broken. Otis came to stand beside me. He did not reach for my hand right away. He waited. That mattered. So I reached first. His fingers closed around mine with careful warmth. We started walking back toward the park. This time, I did not check who was watching. I only noticed Otis beside me, his shoulder close, his cast bright in the sunlight, and his hand holding mine like he had been trusted with something precious. For once, high school felt far away. Not gone, but far enough that I could keep walking. We walked back through the park slowly, partly because Otis was injured, mostly because neither of us seemed ready to let the afternoon end. The path was still busy, but it felt different now. The laughter around us no longer sounded like warning signs. Kids ran past us with melted popsicles. A couple sat under a tree sharing earbuds. Someone's dog barked at a squirrel like it had personal history with it. Normal things. Small things. Things I used to think belonged to other people. Otis's hand stayed in mine. His palm was warm, steady, and careful. Every once in a while, he adjusted his grip just enough to remind me he was there, but never enough to make me feel trapped. That was the part that kept getting to me. Old Otis had made me feel like I had no control over how people saw me. This Otis kept giving control back to me. Step by step. We passed the basketball court again. A group of guys were playing a casual game, laughing loudly whenever someone missed a shot. One of them glanced toward us. My body reacted before my mind did. My fingers tightened around Otis's. Otis noticed immediately. He did not stop walking. He did not make a scene. His thumb brushed softly over my hand once. "I am here." 3 words. Quiet enough that only I heard them. My chest loosened. I kept walking. No one shouted. No one followed. No one turned my hand in his into something ugly. For a second, I almost wanted to laugh at myself. Not because the fear was stupid. It was not. Fear did not become stupid just because the danger had passed, but because the world kept proving it was bigger than my old hallway. And maybe I was finally starting to believe it. By the time we reached the quieter side of the park, the afternoon sun had softened. Otis slowed near a bench under a maple tree. I looked at his cast. "Sit down before your arm starts acting dramatic again." Otis sat very obediently. I like how bossy you get when you care. I sat beside him and immediately regretted choosing that exact distance. Close enough that our shoulders almost touched. Far enough that I could still pretend it was an accident. "I am not bossy." Otis turned his head slightly. "You told me to sit like I was a dog. You listen like one." His smile broke through, bright and warm. I looked away first. That smile was dangerous. We sat quietly for a while. The park moved around us, but it did not feel like it was watching us anymore. Otis rested his cast carefully on his lap. His good hand remained open between us on the bench, not reaching for me this time. Waiting. Always waiting. That made something ache in me. Not badly. Softly. I looked at his hand. Then at him. "You know, you do not have to keep asking without asking." His eyebrows lifted slightly. "What do you mean?" I touched his open palm with my fingertips. "You keep leaving your hand there like a polite invitation." His face flushed. Actually flushed. Otis Warren, who used to walk through school like nothing could touch him, looked embarrassed because I had caught him being careful. I do not want to assume. The answer was simple. Too simple. I swallowed. Then I placed my hand fully in his. "You can assume this much." For a second, Otis did not move. Then his fingers closed around mine with the gentlest pressure. "Okay." The word came out soft, almost breathless. I looked at our hands and felt the old anger flicker somewhere far away. Still there, but smaller, quieter, like a fire finally running out of air. Kate was right about one thing. Otis looked at me. "Which part?" "This town does update faster than social media." His mouth curved. "That is terrifying." "It is." I kept my eyes on our hands. But maybe not as terrifying as I thought. Otis did not answer right away. When I looked up, he was watching me with that careful expression again, like he wanted to smile, but did not want to rush me into feeling better than I did. "You were brave today." I almost rolled my eyes. "I bought ice cream." "You held my hand in public." The words landed between us. My throat tightened, but I did not look away. "You helped." His expression softened. "I am glad." I squeezed his hand once. Not much. Just enough. The silence that followed was not empty. It felt full of everything we were not ready to say yet. A little later, we stood and continued back toward his house. This time, I reached for his hand first before he could offer it. Otis looked down at our hands, then up at me. His smile was small, but it reached his eyes. I pretended not to notice. Mostly because if I noticed too much, I might do something embarrassing, like admit I was happy. When his house came into view, the thought of leaving made my chest feel strangely heavy. That was new. Before, leaving Otis had felt like survival. Now it felt like ending something I wanted to keep. We stopped near his front steps. Neither of us let go right away. We stood near Otis's front steps, still holding hands like neither of us had remembered how to let go. His house was quiet behind him. The windows caught the late afternoon light. Somewhere down the street, a car door closed, and a dog barked once like it had an opinion about everything. I should have said goodbye. That was the normal thing to do. But normal had become difficult around Otis. His thumb moved lightly over my hand. Not enough to distract me, just enough to make my heart notice. I looked down at our hands. Thank you for today. Otis's expression changed, softened, like those words meant more than I had planned. You do not have to thank me. I lifted my eyes to his. I know. That made him pause. I took a breath, because if I did not say it now, I would probably drive home and replay the whole day until my brain became useless. Today felt different. Otis stayed very still, the careful kind of still, like he knew the sentence mattered and did not want to step on it. I looked toward the sidewalk where we had just walked back from the park. I was scared at first. At the park. At the shop. When Kate recognized us. His hand held mine a little more securely, but still gentle. I know. I smiled faintly. You know a lot. His mouth curved. I'm trying to learn the parts one missed. That almost made my chest hurt. I looked back at him. Today, you showed me I am not alone anymore. The words came out quieter than I expected. But they were true. Otis's face shifted like the sentence had reached somewhere deep. His smile disappeared, not because he was sad, but because he was taking it seriously. You will not be alone anymore. His eyes stayed on mine. I promise. A soft silence fell between us. This time, it did not feel like something empty. It felt like a place where something honest could stand. Otis glanced down at our hands, then back at me. His ears were a little red, which should not have been as cute as it was. He swallowed once. Then, I narrowed my eyes a little. What? His good hand tightened around mine for half a second, then relaxed again. Can I ask something? I know this does not mean everything is fixed. That tone was suspicious. Very suspicious. But his face was so nervous that I could not make myself tease him yet. You can ask. Otis took a breath. Can I be your boyfriend now? For 3 full seconds, my brain stopped working. Boyfriend. The word landed in front of me like something both impossible and painfully simple. Otis watched my face carefully. Too carefully. Like he was ready to smile through rejection if he had to. That made my chest tighten. I looked away first, toward the porch steps, the front door, the quiet street. A few days ago, I could barely sit across from him without remembering every hallway that had hurt. Now he was standing in front of me, one arm in a cast, asking to belong in my life with a voice that did not assume he had the right. My heart had already answered before I did. Still, I needed 1 second to breathe. Can? Otis blinked. Then he realized what I meant. His face brightened so fast it almost made me laugh. That sounds like a yes. I tried to look calm. It failed. It sounds like you are getting ahead of yourself. Otis's smile became the one I remembered from before everything went wrong. Warm. A little crooked. Completely unfair. Then can your boyfriend ask for a goodbye kiss? My face burned instantly. There it was. That confidence. Not the old cruel kind. Not the kind that made me feel small. This one was gentle, hopeful, and a little too charming for my safety. I pointed at him with my free hand. You are such an opportunist. Otis's eyes softened. Only with you. That sentence should not have worked. It absolutely worked. He stepped closer, slowly enough that I could move away if I wanted. I did not. His good hand lifted a little, then stopped before touching my face. Still asking. Always asking now, even without words. So I answered by leaning closer first. The kiss was soft. Much softer than the one in the hospital parking lot. There was no shock this time. No injury between us. No fear pushing us forward. Just late afternoon light, his fingers around mine, and the strange feeling of choosing something that had once seemed impossible. When Otis pulled back, he looked almost dazed. I tried to recover faster. So dramatic. His smile came back slowly. I did not say anything. You looked it. He laughed under his breath, then glanced down at our joined hands. I am your boyfriend. I looked away, but I could not stop smiling. Do not make me regret it in the first 10 seconds. Otis straightened like he had received a sacred mission. I will do my best. I finally let go of his hand, mostly because if I stayed there any longer, I might not leave at all. Go inside. Rest. Take your medicine. His eyes stayed on me. Yes, boyfriend. I froze. Otis's smile turned very satisfied. I pointed at him again. Do not abuse the title. He looked far too pleased for someone with one working arm. No promises. I walked toward Mom's car before my face became completely useless. Behind me, Otis stayed on the porch, watching me like the whole afternoon had turned into something he wanted to remember. I got into the car and closed the door. Before I started the engine, I looked back. He was still there, smiling, careful, happy. And this time, I did not feel afraid of being the reason. I drove home with both hands on the steering wheel and absolutely no control over my face. That was unfortunate, because every time I remembered Otis standing on his porch, calling himself my boyfriend like he had just been handed the world, I smiled again. Not a small smile either. A stupid one. The kind that made me grateful I was alone in the car. The road back to my house was familiar. Same stop signs. Same quiet streets. Same houses with trimmed lawns and sprinklers ticking across the grass. But everything looked different. Or maybe I did. A few weeks ago, coming back to this town had felt like walking into a room full of ghosts. Every street had been connected to a memory I did not want. Every familiar place had reminded me of the version of myself who used to keep his head down and move through the world like taking up space was dangerous. Now, the same town held a new memory. Otis holding my hand in the park. Kate smiling at me like I was not a secret. Otis standing in front of me, not behind an excuse, not beside the people laughing, but beside me. And then that kiss. I touched my lips with the back of my fingers at a red light, and immediately hated myself for being that dramatic. Unfortunately, I was happy. Really happy. Not the loud kind. Not the kind that erased everything. The soft kind. The kind that sat quietly in my chest and made breathing feel easier. When I pulled into the driveway with Mom's car, the house looked quiet. Taylor's bike was lying near the garage like it had lost a battle with gravity. I got inside and tried to walk to my room like a normal person. Taylor appeared from the living room doorway with suspicious speed. You are smiling. I stopped. No, I am not. He pointed at my face. Yes, you are. I tried to relax my mouth. That only made it worse. Taylor's eyes widened. Did something happen? I took one step toward the stairs. Nothing happened. He followed me immediately. That means something happened. I turned around. You are too young to be this nosy. Taylor crossed his arms with the confidence of someone who knew he had power. Is Otis your boyfriend now? I froze. Too long. Way too long. Taylor gasped so loudly I was afraid the neighbors heard. Oh my gosh. I covered his mouth with my hand. Lower your voice. His eyes became even bigger. When I let go, he whispered dramatically. Oh my gosh. That was worse. I sighed and leaned against the stair railing. It is new. Taylor's whole face lit up. So yes. I looked away, but I could not stop smiling. Yeah, I think so. Taylor punched the air like his favorite team had won a championship. I knew it. You did not know anything. I knew everything. You thought he liked pancakes. That was part of my research. I laughed before I could stop myself. Taylor looked pleased with his work, then softened in the way little brothers sometimes did when they accidentally became wise. He makes you smile. The sentence hit me more gently than I expected. I looked toward the front window, where the late afternoon light rested on the floor. Yeah. Taylor grinned. Then I like him. That was very simple. Maybe too simple. But after years of fear, making every feeling complicated, simple felt nice. Later that night, I lay in bed with my phone on my chest. Otis had texted me 3 times. One message confirming he had taken his medicine. One message complaining that his mother had checked on him like he was 5. One message that just said, "Boyfriend privileges begin tomorrow." I stared at it for a full minute. Then I typed back, "You are already abusing the title." His reply came fast, "Only with you." I turned onto my side, smiling into the pillow like an idiot. For years, I thought happiness had passed me by. Like high school had taken something from me, and the rest of my life would simply be learning how to live without it. But maybe some things did not disappear. Maybe they waited. Maybe they came back late, bruised, imperfect, and carrying apologies they still had to prove. Otis was not a perfect ending to my pain. He was not a magic fix. He was a boy who had hurt me, changed, came back, and chose to stand beside me when it mattered. And I was a boy who had survived, healed slowly, and finally chose not to let the past decide every tomorrow. Happiness came late. But as I closed my eyes with Otis's message still glowing on my screen, I realized something quiet and terrifying. For once, I wanted tomorrow to come faster. The next morning, I woke up to 5 messages from Otis. 5. At 8 in the morning. For a man with one working arm, he was disturbingly active. The first message was a photo of his medication bottle. Taken. The second was a photo of a glass of water. Also taken. The third was a picture of his cast resting dramatically on a pillow. Still tragic. The fourth message was just, "Boyfriend report, I survived the night." I stared at the screen with my face half buried in my pillow. Then I saw the 5th message. "Do I get a good morning?" My heart did the embarrassing thing again. I turned onto my back and held the phone above my face. "Good morning, Otis." His reply came almost instantly. "Good morning, boyfriend." I dropped the phone onto my chest and covered my eyes with one hand. This was going to be a problem. A very serious, very stupid, very smiling problem. From the hallway, Taylor's voice appeared like he had been waiting outside my door with a microphone. "Are you smiling at your phone?" I sat up too fast. "No." The door opened halfway, and Taylor peeked in with the judgmental face of a child who had decided he was an expert in love. "You are." I pointed at the hallway. "Out." Taylor leaned against the doorframe. "Is it Otis?" I grabbed a pillow and threw it. He dodged this time. "Barely." "Mom." Timothy is smiling at Otis again. I heard Mom laugh from downstairs. "Traitor." I fell back onto the bed and looked at the ceiling. 24 hours ago, the word boyfriend had still felt too big. Now it was sitting inside my phone, showing up in the morning like it belonged there. That should have scared me. A little part of me still waited for the fear, but it did not arrive the way it used to. Instead, I felt nervous, happy, unsteady, like I was learning how to walk in a place I had only ever crawled through before. My phone buzzed again. "Otis." "Ignore Taylor. I think he is jealous of my boyfriend's status." I smiled before I could stop myself. "He is 10. A few seconds later. Still competition. I laughed into the quiet room. Not a small laugh. A real one. The kind that came out before I had time to protect it. For years, I had trained myself to make my feelings smaller. Smaller smiles. Smaller hopes. Smaller dreams. A smaller version of me that could fit through high school hallways without giving anyone more to target. But lying there in my old room, reading Otis's ridiculous texts, I realized something. I did not want to be small anymore. Not for Zach. Not for old whispers. Not for memories that had already taken enough. My phone buzzed one more time. Otis had sent a photo of the banana bread container from yesterday, now almost empty. Also, "Your mom's banana bread may be the second best thing that happened to me this week." I narrowed my eyes at the screen. Second? The reply took longer this time. For once, Otis Warren seemed to understand dramatic timing. Then the message appeared. The first was you choosing me. I stopped breathing for a second. Not because it was too much. Because somehow, it was exactly enough. I held the phone close to my chest and stared at the soft morning light on my wall. Maybe we would still have hard days. Maybe I would still remember things at the wrong times. Maybe Otis would still have to prove himself in quiet ways, again and again, until my heart fully believed what my hand had already chosen. But that morning, with Taylor yelling downstairs, Mom laughing in the kitchen, and Otis waiting on the other side of the screen, I felt something settle inside me. Not complete healing. Not a perfect ending. Something better. A beginning I had chosen for myself. My thumbs moved over the keyboard. Then do not make me regret it. His answer came fast. I will spend every day making sure you do not. I looked at that message for a long time. Then I smiled again. This time, I did not try to hide it.